What's up, YouTube? Houston here. Hey, if you're struggling to pay your rent, all right, I have some credit cards that you possibly get approved for, even with bad credit, that would be able to help you pay your rent, and I'll show you the method on how to leverage those credit cards. All right, so that being said, let's talk about these credit cards. Now, the first credit card we're going to talk about is OppFi, and please keep in mind that the credit cards I'm talking about, they may have a little higher interest rate, but they don't charge all of those different fees like your high interest cards like Progressive or what's that, Capital One, not Capital One, but Credit One credit card. So they don't charge all those high fees that they do, okay, activation fees I should say. Now, like I said, with OppFi, first, when you get approved, again, with bad credit, no hard pull on the credit, they give you $1,000. Also, the thing about it, no security deposit. One of the cool parts about it is that when you get a qualified for OppFi, that first $1,000, they give you an instant credit card. So that way you can actually use it right then and there. So as soon as you're approved, you can use it right then and there. Now, especially when you're trying to pay your rent. So that's something that's very helpful. Now, here's another thing about it. After on-time payments of 6 months, then what they do, they double that. So you go from 1,000 up to 2,000 with the OppFi credit card. All right. Now, another thing about these credit cards, like I said, because you can have bad credit and you get approved for them, but another interesting thing about it, especially when you're trying to find ways to pay your rent and utility bills, I'm going to show you how to get multiple trade lines on your credit file. All right. So that being said, your next credit card that you want to go for is the Credit AI. Now, with the Credit AI credit card, if you have active bank account with deposits and stuff, they'll give you a credit line of $1,500. Okay, they'll give you a credit line of $1,500, which again is good, especially when you're struggling to pay your bills and stuff like that, you know, and the traditional banks don't want to work with you, give you a credit card increase because your credit score is low. These are the type of credit cards that you have to look out for. Now, you also have Tomo. Tomo is the third credit card. Now, Tomo, its limits go from 100 up to 10,000. All right, and you do have to have an active bank account. You do have to have deposits and stuff, but at the same time, there's no hard pull on the credit report. Okay, so they're just looking at the activity of the bank account. So that's a good one. Then you have Patel. Now, Patel again is another one of those credit cards that you can get. The Patel one, it goes from 300 up to 5,000. It doesn't charge any fees, so there's no security deposits on these credit cards that I'm talking to you about, so which is a great thing. One of the things about these credit cards, they're looking more or less your ability to pay, how long you've been on your job, how long you've been at your place of residence. If you don't have no credit file, they're still willing to work with you. Okay, so that's the reason that I had chosen these here credit cards for you to actually take a look at. Now, the next credit card that you want to take a look at is the Opportune Visa card. Now, with the Opportune Visa card, you don't have to have no credit. You're going to have bad credit. It goes up to $1,000. So again, if you paying rent and it's $750, being able to get a credit card that's $1,000 to pay that $750 rent, hey, it's great. Now, in terms of how do you use your credit cards to pay that rent, that's the interesting thing. But I got one more card I'm gonna tell you about, because a lot of people think they can get approved for it, but this is definitely one of those cards that you have a higher probability of getting approved for, and that's the Apple card. Yes, the Apple card, the Apple MasterCard, and it's through Goldman Sachs. Now, they do a soft pull, TransUnion. It's a FICO 9. The other cards and stuff, again, you don't have to worry about hard inquiries on your credit file. Now, what do they check? Some of the lenders may check your LexisNexis file. If you have an existing LexisNexis file, they may check Clarity Credit Bureau, which is owned by Experian. They may check DataX, which is owned by Equifax, or they may check Factor Trust, which is owned by TransUnion. So they may check one of those four or whatever, but most of the time these are the credit cards. If you want an unsecured credit card with no deposits and no activation fees and stuff like that, these are the credit cards that you want to go after. Okay, now with the Apple Card, because of the DTI, their DTI for approval is 75%. Okay, 75%. Where the banks, they would turn you down, even if you had good credit. If you had a 700 with the banks and credit union, but your DTI is over 55%, they can turn you down. All right. So that's the reason that you want to actually look for cards that are willing to work with you, especially if you have a high debt load. You have a high debt to income and stuff like that. But these cards here we're talking about, they definitely are good cards to at least help you pay your rent for at least 1 month or so. Now, here's something that just recently happened. We know about, like, there's a Boom Rental out there. There's Boom Pay. There's Isuzu, and so those are rental companies that report your rent payments and stuff like that. And the reason I'm bringing this out, because Experian Boost, they just decided that your on-time rent payments, you can go through them and they'll report your on-time rent payments. Now, in terms of the other companies like Boom Pay, Boom Rental, Isuzu, what they do is, say that you was in an apartment and you've been paying rent or renting a house for 3-4 years. So what that does, they help you age your credit file. Plus, they add on 2 years of rental history showing that you've been able to pay your rent for the past 2 years. Now, why is this important? The reason it's important, one, it can help you get approved for more credit card payment, better credit card borrowing, as well as getting approved for a mortgage, because of with FHA changing the rules. And if you have on-time payments and everything like that, they're willing to work with you and calculate your on-time payments as well as utilities into it, like with Grow Credit, Outro, which is for utilities and stuff, subscriptions and things of that nature. Those are important trade lines you should have on your credit report, because not only the more positive trade lines on your credit. So say that you have, let me explain this like this. All right, so say that you have a negative item, but one negative item, you need to have at least 2 to 3 positive items, right? So having utilities added on to the credit report helps to overcome that, helps with burdening down that negative item. Okay, so that's the reason that I'm telling you about, you know, adding the rent on again to help you qualify for a mortgage as well. Now, there is a program out, it's called the Emergency Rental Assistance Program. Okay, with the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, you can check it out. I would always tell people, hey, all the free programs, if you really want to know where they at, go to your public library. The librarian there knows about all of these programs, and they have databases for them and stuff, and they'll be able to help walk you through to help get your rent paid, help get your utilities paid, you know. So your local library is probably the best place for these type of resources. All right, so this is Houston with 3-Way Funding. If you have any questions about business credit funding, personal credit funding, click the link in the description, schedule a one-on-one consultation. Thank you.